when you are a developer, you're working with at least two systems. So let's say if you are a mobile developer or you are a web developer, and let's say you work for Google. So one of the pieces that Google would have, the Google website would have, is something called a front end. So this is the front end or the user interface that the user sees. So when I type in certain information over here, let's say using Fetch Mozilla, these words are sent to the Google backend, the backend of this website. And the backend processes this information and says, okay, the user is looking for this information. So it spits back a page which has the results over here. So it has the user interface that the user interacts with, and there is a backend that actually processes the information and returns back relevant data. So as a web developer, as a front-end developer, let's say you're working with JavaScript, you need to send certain information to the backend. And that is done via the Fetch API. All right. So Fetch is a feature inside the browser, inside the JavaScript environment, that allows us to interact and interface with the backend. So remember from our cheat sheet over here when we were talking about event loop, when you are making asynchronous activity, making an HTTP call is an asynchronous activity because you're sending some data to the backend and you're waiting for the backend to resolve and then send us some information back. So you interact with a third-party process called HTTP process. So that's what the Fetch API allows us to use. So to give you an example, I have this API over here open called api.population.io, and it gives us a lot of information about different countries and the population of those countries. So if I scroll down over here, it has an endpoint called /countries, which gives us the list of all the countries. If I want, let's say, the population table over here, if I provide /population/ the year of the population and the age, the number of people of that particular age, is going to give us that information. It gives us a lot of information depending on which URL we call. Okay, so just for a simple example, just to demonstrate to you how to use Fetch, I'm going to use countries. So simple as that. If I just click try it out, if I use this URL, it's going to give me this result, which is a list of all the countries. Okay, so let's take a look over here. I'm going to copy this and show you how to use Fetch. So if I go to the Fetch page over here, if you simply Google using Fetch Mozilla, you're going to go to this page. This is how you simply use it. And if you recognize, Fetch is actually returning us a promise, and that's why we are using the then method to actually chain and get this information out of this URL, right? Whatever URL we have. We can use third-party URLs, or let's say you're making your own websites, you will have your own URLs for your backend, which is not in scope of this course. There's another course for that. But most of the time, you're going to be using these URLs to get information out or send information, okay? So to do that, let's just take a look over here. I'm going to say fetch, provide this URL, and also the second parameter it takes is certain information that you want to set for your fetch, for your call. So in this case, we need to set some header information, which we have not discussed yet. It is okay. So just stay with me over here. This is just an example. We're going to go in more detail in these kind of things when we talk about APIs and HTTP in a different course. And I'm going to link to that particular course in this lesson below. Okay. So if I just do char set, let's say is equal to UTF is equal to 8, like such. Char set, like such. Okay. So now this is going to make a call to this particular URL and set the headers for that particular call as well. Once the data is received, I can actually use the then method to capture that information. And we know it's a callback function, and I'm going to receive a response. So let's see what I get over here. So I'm going to simply do console.log res, and let's see what I get. Refresh, and I get an error that the headers are not set correctly, so that's my mistake. This should be headers with an S over here. I refresh and I got some kind of information. So if I zoom in over here, you see that this particular call resulted in this particular response. It has certain headers, it has some body, it has status, it is 200, that means success, and I get some information. But I don't want this information, I actually want the list of countries. Where is that? So to get the list of countries, I have to actually convert this response into JSON. I know this is a JavaScript object over here, but the body of the response is actually a stream. So I have to convert that stream into JSON. Now I totally understand that I'm giving you too much information, but the thing is that we are now delving outside of JavaScript into the HTTP world and the HTTP protocol. So whenever you're working with JavaScript or any language and you're interacting with the web, you have to learn other aspects of the web as well, which is not in scope of this particular course. It's covered in the next. But just to demonstrate to you how you are interacting with JavaScript while using HTTP, you do it via fetch. So just to show it to you how to convert our response or get the JSON out of it, you would simply do res.json. And that would give you a JSON response. And that's a promise as well. So we know we can chain a promise by doing return like such. So now we can actually capture that response over here. So I'm going to just call it JSON. I can call it anything, as you know, parameters. And I'll do console.log JSON like such. Save, refresh, and now you see I get an object which has countries as property, and I have an array of the list of countries. So here you have it. So here is how you use the fetch API, which is built inside the browser, to make calls to another server. So this is a totally different server outside our application. So this could be the Google server, this could be the MailChimp server, this could be the Facebook server, this could be Salesforce server, it could be any different kind of server. So there's a course on I Love Coding on how to interact with third-party APIs. So you can go through that course to understand the depths of HTTP and using APIs. But this is how you do it. So talk to you in the next lesson.